Bibles and go to the book of Romans, chapter 7. And you're going to go to Romans 7, and you're going to hang out there for a while until we get there together. We will come to it. We're just not going to start right off there. But Romans chapter 7 is where we're going to end up in. Somebody submitted the question, what is the best Bible? Or rather, what is the best version of the Bible to use? Have you ever wondered why there are so many different Bible versions? You guys ever noticed that there's like a lot of them? And ever looked and gone like, what's the difference between these? Is one better than the other? What's the differences? I mean, if we think about it, just to list a few, there's the English Standard Version. There's the King James Version. There's the New King James Version. There's the Christian Standard Bible, the New International Version, and dozens more. There are so many of them that a lot of Christians have this same question rolling around in their heads. Which one should I be using? Are there some I should stay away from? Are there some that are better than others? And we're going to find out the answer together tonight. So the first thing that I want to talk about a little bit of is language and translation. When we're talking about which version of the Bible to use, that's really not the best word to think of it as. Really, we should be talking about which translation that we should use. Because it's important as we're talking about this to understand that the Bible was not originally written in English. Does anybody know any of just give me one if you know more than one. Give me one of the languages that the Bible was originally written in. He did, and he still said it anyway. Well, then I'm going to call on somebody else since you seem to know all the answers. DJ. Hebrew, that's one of them. What else? Titus? It's a religious tradition, not a language. Corbin? Greek is one. There's actually more than just those two. Did you know that? Judah? No. No. Trevin?
Norse by any chance?
Norse? No, Thor had nothing to do with the Bible. Okay. Titus? What? No, actually, so there's Greek and Hebrew are the two biggest ones, but there's also a little bit of Aramaic and Syriac in there as well. Very small amounts, but that's pretty much what we're dealing with. So when we are reading the Bible in English, you have to remember that it's been translated from different languages. It didn't start here in English, and that's important. Anytime you translate something from one language to another, you have language rules to follow, and you'll have some choices to make. To illustrate this, I thought it would be kind of interesting. Can you put this phrase back up on the screen for me? Or this next thing? Okay, so if you take the Spanish phrase, se considera que el gato negro trae mala suerte, if you put it in English, a sensible version comes out, it is believed that the black cat brings bad luck. That's if you're going to take the Spanish phrase and just put it in English, be like, here's what this means, here's how we can understand it. But several things have to be moved around in the sentence to make it fit and make sense from one language to another. If you took every word exactly as it appears in the Spanish sentence and you put it into English, literally and exactly as it's written, you would get this instead. It consider what the cat black bring bad luck. That's not quite as readable. Yeah, that's how I feel without coffee. That's how a lot of you guys feel until about 3:30 when you leave school. So like you can kind of get the idea out of it, but it doesn't quite fit. And you can tell, obviously, some changes were made getting it from Spanish to English, right? In order to make it readable and understandable. Those Spanish words in that order make perfect sense in Spanish. Like if you took it this way literally from English and threw it back into Spanish, it would be a little bit weird. But you do have to keep in mind some language rules from the original language and the language rules for the language you're trying to get into. So there's some stuff that you just have to think about to make it understandable. So now we're going to go a step further. What languages do we say the Bible was originally written in? Just say them. Aramaic? Aramaic? I thought you were saying American. I was like, no, it wasn't written in American. America. Okay. Hebrew and Greek, primarily the main languages, okay? Now, Hebrew and Greek are much more expressive and dynamic languages than English. People who study Hebrew and Greek really deeply will look at just the English language in general and be like, wow, that's such a lousy language. If you've ever taken a foreign language like French or Italian or even things like German, a lot of those people look at the English language and are like, this is like really stripped back and like almost caveman-y. Like it's really, it's kind of an ugly language. If you grow up speaking it, You don't really think anything of it. And we do have some nice words, but the funny thing is that like all the nicest words in English we have borrowed from other languages. We're just like, that's a really pretty one. I'm going to just keep that over here. It's ours now. You can't have it back. I changed 2 letters. You can't have it. It's ours. So really, when you look at these other languages, they're more expressive and dynamic than English. And many of those words in Greek or Hebrew do not have a perfect English equivalent. Like cat in the English word, you've got cat in English, gato in Spanish. It's the exact word. If you're going to say cat from English to Spanish, you say gato, or vice versa, gato, cat. In Hebrew and Greek, there are a lot of words that you'd be like, okay, I know what that like means, but there's no English word for it. So now what? Like, what am I going to do with that? I have to pick a word. You have to try and find a word that's just like, this is close, or this conveys the same idea, but it's not quite there. Again, a lot of people who study Hebrew and Greek will look at Hebrew and Greek, and then they'll look at the English choices that we have to make, and they're a little frustrated with it when they get really deep in, because they're like, it's not the same. It's not as, there's so much more there in those other languages. So you have to remember that, too, as we're going into this. You got to make some difficult choices, again, based on how the language structure is, and based on the words that are or aren't available, and you kind of have to try to work to get closely convey the original idea or intent while accepting that you aren't always going to get a perfect word that matches exactly. Okay? It's kind of like trying to describe a cat without using the word cat, right? Like it'd be kind of hard to do. Like if you're going to try and speak in another language, you'd be like, all right, here's this thing, and it okay, that's what we have. I don't know what you would call it, but here's what we call it: a cat. Okay, it's a doohickey that spits up its own hair. I don't know. It's a thing. Okay, so you have to make some choices. You would have to try and figure out, how do I communicate this thing or this idea when it doesn't exist in that language? So I want to give us a little bit of practice with that tonight, just to kind of get a hands-on experience. We're going to play a game, and we're going to try and get everybody. What?
Can cats make their own spitballs just coughing up their hairballs?
I am not a veterinarian. I have no idea. So here's the game that we're going to play. Can I get somebody to erase that whiteboard for me? No, leave that side, just the left side here with the pictures and stuff, okay? All right, while Miss Stephanie's erasing that, let me give you guys the rules of how this is going to work, okay? Everybody's going to get a shot at this. Here's what you have to do. You have to describe or use another word for things, listen, from a list that I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a word, and you have to figure out how you're going to describe it or use a different word for it as if that word does not exist in our language. So when I show you a word, you have to go to the whiteboard and try and write something out that gets everybody else to understand what you're talking about, but you can't use the word that I give you, okay? Now, wait, hold on. I got more to explain. I'm going to answer like every one of your questions if you'll just let me, okay? All right, so you can't use the word that I give you. You can only write up to 5 words to explain your thing, and you have to make it a readable description of it, and your description must include an alternative noun. Everything on my list is a noun: person, place, thing, idea, okay? None of them are like, I'm not going to tell you to describe running, an action. It is a noun, it is a thing, it is an animal, it is a building, it is something, okay? You have to, in those words that you're going to use, you have to use another noun to try and convey it, okay? For instance, if your word is elephant, which elephant's not actually on the list, so nobody can steal the idea. Okay, if your word was elephant, you can't write big ears, long trunk, nose, okay? Because if you're trying to describe that to somebody, if you're going to try to describe elephant to someone else in another language, you couldn't just be like, big ears, long trunk, nose. They'd be like, that guy comes second. Yeah, that guy comes second. We know him. He's in the next hut over. What are you talking about, okay? No, you can't do that. You would maybe have to make it more sensible and readable with a noun, like long-nosed, big-eared cow, okay? You can do something like that. It has to just kind of come out as something that someone could look at and go, okay, all right, I got it. Okay, any other questions now? No? See, I told you. Oh, no, okay, you came up with a few. What? No pictures, only words. As if you were trying to translate something that someone else had to read, and you just had to put it down on paper to read. Corbin.
Can you use letters?
Of course you can.
So that's how words are made. Only if you write it out as a word. Also, no sounds, no motions, no miming. Okay, you're just writing it and trying to get people to understand it. CJ.
But last question. The Egyptians wrote in.
We're talking English. We're using English, not hieroglyphics. We're using English. Okay, Trevin. No, you have to have your whole thing up there, and if nobody's getting it, you can start over. Okay? That's the idea, unless it takes too long. All right, who wants to be my first victim? Person. Corbin, you come on up here. Okay, here's the word that you are trying to write without using the word. Okay, go. Just words, no drawings. Everybody can just turn around and try and figure out what it is he's writing. Quit guessing already, you cheese curd. This one shouldn't be too hard. Most of these aren't too hard. Let him write his whole thing. Why are you using slashes? What is... This already isn't turning out to be a sentence or a sensible object. Okay, here. So you put yours down. We're going to add one more thing to this, okay? I'm going to make everybody face me until the person's done writing. That's what we're going to do. Because you can't like guess. Come on, sit down, Corbin. You're done. Yeah, we did. Everybody guessed it before he got there. So what? Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I'm good with it. Let's just go kind of across the. Okay, you guys want to try it? Lame. You want to go? All right, Trevin, you come on up here. Everybody stay facing me until Trevin is done writing, okay? This one's yours. Okay. Nobody look. Trevin's going to go right. We're going to give him like maybe 20 seconds to figure out how to put this on there. Just do what you got. I have faith in you. Kind of. You're wasting time, bro. Up to 5 words. You don't have to have 5, but it has to be something.
19, 20.
Stop counting you. You guys are frustratingly technical. You know that? Oh, I'm yes, and his father. Yeah.
30. Time's up.
Okay. Stop looking, Nija. I will smear your reputation all over the live stream. All right, I'm going to give you 15 more seconds.
5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Why do I do this out loud?
9, 10.
At least I don't have to count.
12, 13, 14, 15.
All right, that's it. Turn around and see what he wrote. What is he trying to translate for you?
Play.
There you go. It is. All right, so he's going for pilot. All right, everybody sit down. Let me get the next victim. Judah, come on down. That's yours. Good job, Travis. Go.
45 seconds.
All right.
Hey, you're on camera.
I know. I know. I know. I can't even see it. You're using not black. Yeah, I know. This is making it harder. That means stop. No, quieter. I don't think anybody's gonna be able to read it, dude. It's really hard to see. Wait. Oh, did it run out? We'll have to give him extra time, I suppose. No, you just want people to turn around. They'll get it. I can read the first one. I think I can get the second one. I'm not going to read it out loud. You forgot. All right, let's have everybody turn around and see if they can figure out what he wrote. There it was, hospital. Okay. All right. Emergency rooms. Okay. All right, who's next? You? All right, CJ, come on down. Good luck with this one. Oh, she's excited. Oh no. I'm terrified of how excited she is. That's a little disturbing.
What have you done?
I don't know.
She's evil.
What? I don't know.
She's not evil.
Remember, you have to try and make it a sensible noun at the end of the thing, okay? So you're already not starting off. If you put this on a piece of paper, people would be like, what? You make new sentence. You're adding adjectives. You're not like, that's not real. We're just, okay, commas have just been, caution is thrown to the wind with the commas. Right, you done? All right, everybody turn around. I mean, again, you're missing the fundamental idea of this has to like turn into a noun, not just descriptions of something. And we hope that someone's got the paper. Come on down. The spelling's fine. It's just, wait, nope. The last one's not fine. Okay, this is you. Have at it. He's got this. Ryan has this in it. Please be the first one to turn it into an actual like thing. Yeah, please. Well, I got you, and you wanted to do it? Or as close to 20 as you can get. Huh? I can't hear you. What? Huh? I'm thinking about it.
No, go back. Whoever's entertaining are
I think they understand the point. They just aren't making the effort to turn it into a thing. We'll see. You almost done there, bud? Well, not you. I'm talking about Ryan. Sit down before you pop a blood vessel. Good grief. Bob the tomato doing push-ups over here. Come on, have a seat. All right, I'm going to give you one more word, man. Are you throwing German on the end of that? Oh, okay. I couldn't see what it was. I was like, you can't mix it. Okay. I don't know if that's specific enough, but everybody turn around. What is he talking about? Cruise ship. There we go. All right. We had to guess a few different. Okay, now hold on. Time out, everybody. Listen. Now, kudos to him for being the first one to actually turn it into an object of some kind. All right. However, did you realize that as we were trying to figure out exactly what it was, because of how it was described, we came up with several different options that it could be. That could have been a shipping container, could have been a cruise ship, depending on how it started and how you read it and how you understand the intent behind it or the sentence that it went in, you might have to look at that and go, okay, based on what I see going on here, I think it's a cruise ship. Okay, so that can be some of the choices that people have to look at language and trying to figure out. All right, Creed, you're next. Come on up. This one's you.
You just showed everybody.
Did anybody see that?
Yeah.
Oh, then you weren't looking very closely. Good luck. Turn it into a thing, okay? Like an actual object of some sort.
Come on, you guys.
Huh?
Yeah, at least 7 grade.
You're the only one I'm happy with so far, so. Anytime you're ready, Creed. Go for it. Yeah, it's catching this.
Less of this.
It's a little. This is all I can handle right now.
You can't handle any of this.
You getting hung up, Creed? You got this, man. I have faith in you. I have more faith in you than I had in Trevin.
One that I actually want to try. It'll take like less than 45 seconds.
If we have time. This is already going longer than I thought. We'll do one more after this. Come on, Creed. We gotta get it going.
Please be next.
Yes. You're next, and then we'll move on after you.
Can I go next? Actually,
You want to try it now? Just because I'm saying no.
now.
Okay, he's getting closer to what we're talking about here. Yes. We're gonna do one more, and then we gotta move on. Do not shoot that. Do not do that.
Do it, dude. Do it. Do it.
All right, everybody turn around. There we go. See? That is a good one. That's a good example of I don't have a word, and here's a way to describe it so that people can understand. All right, Lila, you're the last one.
He uses foot.
Sure, yeah, famous last words. Remember, follow in the footsteps of Creed and Ryan and turn it into an actual thing that people could read into a sentence. Yep. That was amazing.
And how the other blasting their Nerf gun.
That's still one of my favorite Nerf battles ever. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
that's my favorite.
I know. Just it's not a real youth group until the fire alarm goes off at some point, right? And now we've got that in our past, and everything was fine, so don't worry about it.
Did you love my?
Okay, everybody turn around. You're blocking your sentence. You're blocking your sentence a little bit. There you go. Church, yes. It was church. Okay. So hopefully, if we have more time at the end, I think I've got, how many more of those words do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I got 9 more. So if we have time at the end, we can maybe do it again. But hopefully this demonstrates a little bit of how just kind of like when you're going to translate something and there's no word that matches. Sometimes you have cat and gato. Sometimes you just look, you're like, I don't have that word. How am I going to try and convey it? And be as faithful to the original intent, the original idea, the original meaning, the original message. How can I be faithful to that? And this is where some of the translation choice comes in. When translating the Bible from Greek and Hebrew, translators have to pray through and decide what words will convey the meaning and be understandable in English. And that's why sometimes you have some differences. Like, well, they translated this way. And it's like, and people can get really hung up on, well, no, this should have been that other word. It's like, okay, well, 50 other people say 50 different words. So like we have to try and figure out how God got us there together. Sometimes this leads to different choices in Bible translations depending on what the aim of that translation is, which brings us to the next part of this. We talked about translation and language. Now we're going to talk, can you go back one? Thank you. Translation types, okay? Now that we've talked about the fact that languages function differently and certain choices have to be made when you're translating, we'll look at 3 different types of Bible translations with different intentions and different goals behind them. And then this is where we can break down which translations are actually better than others, okay? So the first Bible type of Bible translation is paraphrase, okay? Paraphrase, rephrasing for easier understanding. This means that translators try to reword the verses or the words in order to get a basic idea of what was said. They're not necessarily going for exact sentence structure. They're just trying to say, how can I reword this to try and make it more understandable? Here's how we can put it in English, but how can we reword it in English to make it easier to read or to look at, okay? This is probably, if I had to pick one, this is probably the worst type of Bible translation because it can lead to some misunderstandings when things are reworded. People can restructure things a certain way, and it's not quite what they were originally getting at in Greek and Hebrew, okay? So if we're going to go back to our Spanish phrase that we took into English, we'll just take it from English. What are some paraphrases that you can think of with that sentence, it is believed black cats bring bad luck? If you're going to paraphrase that and rephrase it to somebody else and say, let me say it a different way, how would you say that sentence a different way? Judah. Black cats can be bad luck. Okay. Hold on to that one. Keep that in your brain because we're going to come back to it. CJ, what do you think?
A lot of people might believe that black cats will bring bad luck.
Okay, that's another good one. Connor? Some people think that black cats give bad luck. Okay. Trevin, last one. What's your example?
Certain individuals may believe that black cats provide
Ungood luck. All right. So we're going full King James version in your idea. Okay. Throw a thee and a thou in there, and we got it. Blacketh catteth. Judah, what was the one that you said? Okay. What's the difference between what Judah's paraphrase and the sentence we actually gave? He said black cats can bring bad luck. The sentence was, it is believed cats bring bad luck. What's the difference? There is a key difference in that paraphrase. Judah? Insinuating.
Yeah, that cats do in fact give bad luck.
Okay, so the original sentence only said the general idea that some people think it. It's a belief. That sentence does not confirm that it's true. It just says, kind of like I think CJ said, some individuals think that black cats bring bad luck. Judah's rewording was making it a fact. Black cats bring bad luck. That's not the same thing as just stating a general belief, okay? That's where paraphrases can sometimes get a little iffy, where somebody tries to reword it to make it easier, to make it more understandable, or to convey what they think the idea is, and then you actually come out with something different if you're paying attention to it. Like, that's not quite what we were going for. Some examples of the paraphrase, like I said, could be black cats are symbols of bad luck, kind of, right? Or even it's a superstition that black cats bring bad luck. And while these are close, what you guys threw out there were pretty close paraphrases. They meant basically the same idea, right? The thing about those is them being close, there's a difference in how definite the statement is. They do bring bad luck. They might bring bad luck. They sometimes bring bad luck. People think they bring bad luck. Big difference, right? Okay. Your choice of paraphrase could be influenced by what you want the sentence to say, all right? If I wanted, as I translate something, if I wanted to convey that black cats absolutely bring bad luck, I might choose to take the original sentence and say, I'm going to say it that black cats bring bad luck. That's the general idea of what they're getting at. In my head, I know what I mean, that, that's just the superstition. But the way I phrase it kind of comes out as a definite statement. And that can get a little bit hairy, okay? For this reason, like I said, paraphrase Bible translations are the least reliable type of Bible translation. If you're going to pick one and say, here, I want to pick one out that I'm going to read on a regular basis every day, this is what I'm going to do with my study, this is where I'm going to get my general understanding of God's word from. Paraphrase translation isn't really the best way to go. They can be helpful when you're trying to understand a verse or a passage better. Sometimes you're reading something, you're like, I'm not quite getting that. Let me look over here and check that. Oh, okay, I see what that's saying. And then you come back. It can help sometimes. They have their place, but they're not recommended for regular reading or study, okay? Paraphrase Bible translations include the New Living Translation, the Message Bible, which don't even, and the Living Bible. Those would be considered paraphrases, especially like the Message Bible. It is a complete rewriting of what it says. They look at it, they're just like, okay, now let me take that general concept. And in a lot of cases in the Message Bible, the verses are like 3 times as long. I'm just like, how does that make it easier to understand? You made it longer. Like, if you're going to make something easier, shorten it up, man. Summarize. That's not helping me. Okay, so that's paraphrase. The next one we want to talk about is thought for thought, conveying the main idea, okay? Or some people call this meaning to meaning. We take the meaning of what was being said in the verse in the Greek and the Hebrew, and we try and put out what it's saying. This type of translation tries to stay pretty close to the original message and the meaning while using easy to read and understandable wording. And this can be helpful, especially when we have some verses that are maybe a little bit more confusing. So all of you guys have Romans 7 in front of you, right? Romans 7.
7.
Okay.
Where's that one?
I'm going to go around the room, and real quick, if you know what translation you have in your lap, just say what it is. What do you got? What do you got? That's what I figured.
New King James.
Okay, so wait, ESV, New King James? New King James? ESV? ESV?
The message.
Oh, please don't.
The message 2.0.
Message 2. That's, I don't feel like that's ESV. Okay, I was going to say, I don't think that's going to be any better. Connie? ESV? You got New King James? Anybody got something besides ESV or New King James? No, that's pretty much where we're at. Okay. Here's what I want to do. I want a couple of volunteers, somebody who's got, there's a lot of ESVs. So if you got an ESV and you want to look at something different, stick your hand up. I got a couple options here for you, okay? All right. I have these I'm going to pass them out and you're going to give them back, okay? All right, the blue sticker is where I want you to turn to, okay? You got, that's NIV. This is Amplified Bible. Here, you borrow that one. Here's King James. Oh, this is ESV already. All right. Yep. Okay. So I'll give you guys a second to the sticky notes. Mark where I want you to turn so you didn't have to try and find it. All of us should be in Romans 7, okay? Romans 7, verse 18. All right. Those of you who have ESV, or really everybody, follow along with me. I'm going to read out loud just 18 through 20 in ESV. And I'm doing this to try and point out the differences between the different translation types. And we'll get to what ESV is in a second. But ESV says it this way. Paul is writing about kind of the back and forth struggle that he has with sin. He's basically saying, well, we'll see what he's basically saying when we get through the translations, okay? So 18 of chapter 7, Paul says this, "For I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is, in my flesh. For I have the desire to do what is right, but not the ability to carry it out." Okay, now just that one verse. Let's stop there for a second. Creed, which one did I give you? NIV? Okay, go ahead and read that out loud for us.
I know that nothing good lives in me that is in my sinful nature, for I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out.
Okay, so did you guys notice a little bit of difference there? Okay, still basically the same, right? Comes across pretty much the same, little different, some different word choices, some different phrasing, but close. Trevin, what did I give you? Amplified Bible? Go ahead and read that one. That should be very different. Just 18 for starters.
For I know that nothing good dwells within me, that is in my flesh. I can will what is right, but I cannot perform it. I have the intention and urge to do what is right, but no power to carry it out.
Okay, so a little bit more different even. The Amplified Bible tends to draw things out and kind of re-explain sometimes a couple of times. CJ, you have KJV, King James. I grew up on this one, so go for it.
For I know in my flesh dwelleth no good thing, for to will is present with me, but how to perform that is which good I find not. Read.
That one's tougher, okay? I grew up for, oh gosh, almost 30 years on KJV. So like I can pretty much, run through it and it's fine. Even now though, I've been out of it for a few years and sometimes I look back and go, what? So that one's a little bit more difficult, especially if you're younger and the newer generations find that one a little bit harder. Let's go to the next verse, okay? Because now Paul's really going to start talking in circles, even in ESV, and we're going to see how this twists up a little bit. ESV says, so again, he's saying in verse 18, through these other ones that we've looked at, what do you think Paul is saying in verse 18? Let's start there. Judah. Okay, that's the basic idea of what's coming out of 18, right? Let's look at 19. ESV says, "For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing." Short and sweet. Creed, how does NIV put it?
Is not the good I want to do, no, the evil I do not want to do. Keep this on doing.
Okay. Again, a little different. I actually think the NIV might have been a little harder on that one. Usually NIV is a little bit smoother of a read sometimes, but that seems a little more confusing. Trevin, what does verse 19 say in Amplified?
For I fail to practice the good deeds I desire to do, but the evil deeds that I do not desire to do are what I am ever doing.
Okay. A little bit more formal, a little bit more drawn out. CJ. I gave you the hard one. I'm sorry. You got the F's and the thous in there. Go ahead. Oh yeah, I forgot you have a New King James. Okay, well let's have her read King James, and then I'll have one of you guys read New King James. Okay.
For the good that I do not, but the evil which I would not that I do.
Okay, little bit tongue twist here. Titus, what's the New King James? How do they put it?
The good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do.
Okay, so it's close. New King James is similar, but just updates it a little bit. It kind of takes out the these and the thous and the f's in it. Alyssa? 18. Who wants to read? Ryan, can you read 18 from New King James?
18?
Yeah.
For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing, for to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not.
Okay. So I think that's a little more readable than the old style KJV from originally the 1600s, and even then it's been updated a few times, a little bit since then, but nothing since like the 1800s. The New King James comes from the same translation ideals as the KJV, and it's just trying to make it a little bit newer. So from verse 19, what's the general idea we're getting from Paul? Anybody? He tries to do good, Connor.
He tries to do good things, has a sinful nature, and continues to do the bad, sinful nature.
All right, he wants to do good, finds himself still doing bad. Last verse let's look at is verse 20, okay? Verse 20, he says, now if I do what I do not want, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells within me. Creed, what does verse 20 look like in NIV?
Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it.
Okay, so now I feel like NIV switched back up and they're a little bit smoother than the ESV was. What do you have for New King James?
Now if I do that I would not, it is no more that I do it, but sin that dwelleth in me.
I thought you had New King James.
I do.
It still has dwelleth?
Yes. That's
Really?
a lot of verses.
Strange.
Oh, yeah, back.
I've not seen that before. Most New King James I'm familiar with takes all of those out. Interesting. Trevin, Amplified Bible, verse 20.
If I do what I do not desire to do, it is no longer I doing it. It is not myself that acts, but the sin principle which dwells within me, fixed and operating in my soul.
Okay, so there we have the Amplified kind of drawing it out more, kind of extrapolating the thought and expanding on it, which is what Amplified does a lot. Which, again, if you're having a hard time getting at understanding what Paul's getting at here, you might go and look at a verse there and go, okay, I see kind of the extended idea. And that's not necessarily just the translators just deciding how it should be read. That's them looking at the Greek that Paul wrote in and going, this is kind of how that plays out if we had all the right words that made sense. So we're going to explain it a little bit further. Last in KJV, CJ.
Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me.
Okay, not too bad. You have to, as you read through it, you understand that in KJV, where every other translation is essentially Paul saying, the thing I would not do. KJV says, the thing I would not, like the thing that I would not will to do, okay? So it takes it apart a little bit. This is where I think that some of these paraphrase translations, like I said, can make certain parts of the Bible more readable and a little easier to grasp. Even in the ESV, as I read through these, sometimes I have to slow down and go, okay, all right, I got it. And I have to like think through it a little bit. Whereas something like the NIV or even the Amplified, you can spread it out and be like, okay, all right, like that helps cool my brain off a little bit. Like there's some steam coming out here and the gears were like locked up, but I'm getting it now. An example of paraphrasing our black cat phrase, instead of saying it's believed that the black cat brings bad luck, you would get maybe some people think bad cats or black cats are unlucky, right? Same general idea. You're taking the idea of what's said, you're trying to make sure the idea stays the same. Not like when Judah said black cats bring bad luck. You're taking the paraphrase and you're saying the idea has to be the same. I'm just gonna make it a little easier to say or read, all right? Here, let's put this other example up on the screen real quick, okay? Here's a different sentence. If I said, her socks smell like rotten donuts and her hair looks like it got tangled in a blender, okay? That's really like intentionally graphic statement. Here's a paraphrase that might not work quite so well. He said her socks smell awful and her hair looks really tangled. General idea, right? I said essentially that, but it doesn't carry the same weight of what I said, does it? It doesn't have quite the same punch. It's not the same thing as you're just like, Pastor Josh said that her socks smell like rotten donuts. If you just say, Pastor Josh said her socks stink. Like, yes, but I put a little more bravado into what I said. Listen, at the river yesterday, some of you people took your socks off, and I could be 30 feet away and smell them, all right? No name dropping, but it doesn't take a lot of effort with some of you, okay? So it can make things a little less clunky and a little easier to read and understand. Listen, it's essentially the same meaning, but it's just not quite what I said, and it doesn't carry the same weight. You can't determine for yourself what I meant because you just have the main idea, okay? If you got exactly what I said, you could take from that and go, it sounds like he was kind of upset about how bad her socks smelled, right? He was very specific that they smelled like rotten donuts. If somebody said, Pastor, he said that her socks smelled a little weird. Not quite. We're not going to go there, okay? So the better idea is to say, I can't determine for myself what the thought was, right? I don't have as many of the words laying in front of me as possible. I'm just kind of trusting that that's what the thought is. So while thought for thought can be helpful for understanding confusing ideas and getting a little bit easier of an understanding of something, they're not the best overall for regular reading and comprehension. Again, your daily reading, your regular Bible study, only using a thought for thought like NIV is not as helpful as you might think it is. Examples of thought for thought translations include New International Version, which is what Cree was reading out of, Christian Standard Bible, and the Amplified Bible that Trevin had. You're going to be fine. Yeah, what is that? Am I lighting up again? Yes, no, maybe? Am I lighting up on there still? Okay, I muted myself by unplugging, and I'm like, I've never tried that before. So, finally, we're going to come to the last version, or the last translation type, which is essentially literal. That's a fancy way of saying word for word, okay? The reason I prefer the term essentially literal, some people will call it a word for word translation, but that doesn't really make any sense. Because if you were really word for word, then you would have sentences like, it consider what the cat black bring bad luck, okay? That would be true word for word, where we change nothing, we throw the sentences out there as they are, and we just put the English words where the Greek and Hebrew words were. It's not really how it works. To demonstrate that a little bit, I'll just take a look at these and pass them around a little bit. I'm going to start this one on the front, and I'm going to start this one on the back, okay? Front row, Corbin is holding what's called an interlinear. These are both interlinears. Corbin's got a Greek interlinear. What the Greek does, listen. What he's got here is, and what TJ has in the back is the same thing, but the Hebrew version. On the side, it's got the verses in English so that you can see what you're used to reading. In the middle, it's got the Greek written out, and then under each Greek word, it's got the English equivalent. But if you were to read through this and then read the same verse over here, you would notice some differences between the English equivalent for the Greek word and then what they actually ended up putting in the verse. Because there's still some choices and some sentence restructuring that has to happen. Because if you just took it as is and you slapped it on the page in English, it still wouldn't really be readable. Now, go ahead and pass those around. Don't hang on to it forever. Take a quick look at it and move it. Now, if you want to get really wild, the Hebrew one on the back is totally different. If you're looking at a piece of paper in English, if you're reading a book in English, which direction do the words go? Hebrew goes right to left. Japanese. A lot of languages do that. So as you read through it in the Hebrew one, you have to look at it backwards. It's a little bit confusing. But take a peek at it, pass it around, keep moving it through. That's fine. Well, I'll keep talking while you guys do it. Teenage languages in circles. Yeah. There is no translation for those. If you ask a teenager to translate things like Riz, they still can't tell you. So you can give me the idea, you can't give me an exact word. Okay, go ahead and keep passing those silently, but I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on, okay? An essentially literal translation, or what people call word for word, but again, Corbin, can I talk now? Is that okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. An essentially literal translation seeks to translate each word as carefully and accurately as possible with only minor adjustments to make the sentence readable. So an essentially literal translation doesn't just say, let's reword it so people can understand. It doesn't say, let's just get the general thought on the paper. It says, let's get every word as close as we can. We know some of them won't have exact words. We know that we'll have to adjust some sentence structure so people can read a little bit. But as best as we can do, let's get it pretty much exact, okay? So you're not just getting the general idea or the basic meaning from the original language, you are getting pretty much what was actually said. So examples of essentially literal translations include the English Standard Version, which a lot of you guys have, the New King James Version, which a couple of you have, and the New American Standard Bible. Now, admittedly, essentially literal can sometimes be just a teensy bit harder to read. Like I said, when I was reading here in ESV, a couple of those verses were like, okay, well, you had to think about it. It's sometimes, but for the most part, it's usually still pretty readable. All right? So we've looked at, what were the three different ones again? Somebody tell me one of them. Anybody? Ryan, what's one of them? What are the three different types of translations that we've talked about? Those are the languages. I'm saying the translation types. Word for word or essentially literal. That's a translation. What did you say? Paraphrase. What's the other one?
No, brother.
You said I didn't. You didn't mean just.
Paraphrase. Thought for thought. That's another way of putting it. Paraphrase, thought for thought, or essentially literal. Okay, so now we're going to come to the final answer. The original question that we started all of this with tonight was, what's the best Bible, or what's the best Bible translation that you should pick up and that you should be reading every day? Okay? Out of all the Bible translations that we have, the majority of them, not all, the majority of them have been translated with enough care and dedication to God's word that they can be relied on to some degree or another. Although there are some like the Mirror Bible or the Passion Translation that you shouldn't touch with a 10-foot stick. Okay? Some of them are just plain. But there are a number of trustworthy Bible translations, so which one should you actually pick? Let me ask you guys just for your opinion, which type of translation do you think is best? Paraphrase, thought for thought, or the essentially literal? I got a couple of essentially. You guys are both just like, like hand-raising etiquette is just out your brain. Connor, what do you think? Essentially literal. Corbin? Thought for thought. Interesting. We got a rogue. Essentially literal. Any of them. Okay. Oh, well, yeah, because they don't have to raise their hands. They used to just, Mom? Okay. Okay. All right, you guys ready? All right, listen. Are you ready to find out which one is the best one that you should be picking up and reading? Okay. The answer is the one, listen. The answer to the one that you should be reading is the one that you'll actually read. Okay? Yes, there are guidelines, like probably avoid a paraphrase translation for your daily reading and stick with one that's more literal. I would advise more of a essentially literal or a word-for-word translation. But the truth is, if you struggle to understand a particular translation, then choose one that you'll be able to understand and engage with. It doesn't make any sense for you to grab a New King James or a New American Standard Bible and be like, I have to read this one, and you're not getting anything out of it because none of it makes any sense. You might want to go and get a little bit of help with that. Alyssa? Yeah, comparing translations is huge, even if it does make sense. Sometimes it's still like, I'm pretty sure I know what that means, but let me double check over here a little bit. Because again, they're pretty much coming from the same source, so getting some different perspectives might help turn your brain in a different direction. Connie?
So when I was this kid's age, I was reading the Living Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's a paraphrase, not a translation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Living Bible, as I grew in my faith and my understanding, and moved from the Living Bible to the New International Version, NIV.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, I wanted more depth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I have an ESV study Bible, and so there's different, you can add commentary to the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, right?
Yeah, that can help a lot.
So I've kind of chosen one man this study Bible,
Mm-hmm.
or many different people who had commentary in the Bible, study Bible. And this man's really popular.
Yeah.
I chose this one because I wanted more than one man.
One opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then as I studied my Bible, I asked the Holy Spirit to give me God's understanding
Mm-hmm.
of God's information.
Yeah.
It's like as you grow in your faith, sometimes you change which Bible you use.
Yeah. Yeah. So Connie made 3 great points, and I want to hit all 3 of them real quick. Okay. First one being she talked about kind of starting with a paraphrase, moving to thought for thought, and then moving to an essentially literal or a word for word. Why did she say she wanted to end up with a word for word? Anybody remember?
Because you want more depth.
She wanted more depth. You have to understand that as you're looking at especially a paraphrase or even a thought for thought, fellas, I'm going to go ahead and take that back because you seem wildly distracted. The more loose the translation is, the more depth you sacrifice in reading it. Okay? I have it in the announcements that scroll before youth group starts. I have like a word of the week, like a Bible word of the week, and I don't always remember to change it every week, so the one that's there has been there for like a month. But the word that's up there right now is propitiation. That means atoning sacrifice. Now, a lot of translations like NIV will just say atoning sacrifice or sacrifice. They won't use the word propitiation. But if you look at some essentially literal ones like ESV, you will find that word and others in there that the other translations have decided to go ahead and sacrifice for readability. But if you want more depth and you want to engage with the Bible on a more meaningful level, you might want to consider moving a little bit closer to what was actually there in the first place. She also mentioned using commentaries. Good idea. You shouldn't just dive in with only your thoughts, because half the time you're going to think you have it figured out, and then you're going to listen to somebody who's a little bit further down the spiritual road, and you're going to go, whoops, I had that backwards. That's okay. Just be willing to find some others, and don't just pick one voice to listen to. My rule with commentaries is if I'm reading through and like I'm studying for a message or youth group or something, if I read something, I usually reference anywhere from 3 to like 8 commentaries, depending on what I'm studying and what I'm looking at. If I see one guy out of 8 say one thing, I'm not buying it. Maybe he's right, but how come the other 7 didn't think that that's what that said? The odds of that being the case are pretty slim. So compare, broaden your understanding. I forgot what the third thing was that you said that I was going to point out. It's already gone. Depth commentaries.
Yeah, well, you did. One person might.
Okay, yeah. Stretch it out a little bit.
Yeah, because in this ESV study Bible, there's not just one man writing commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, there's multiple that you can reference and look at.
Different Bible.
Yeah. So that'll take you even deeper. You get the essentially, do I need to make one of you guys move in the back? Because the entire time I've had to stop like every 10 seconds and deal with this. Are you done being the center of attention?
Yeah.
I should hope so. Bottom line, there are translations that I would point you at and say, that's a good one. There are translations I would say, heck no. As a general overarching rule, start just getting into the Bible. Don't just look at it and go, well, this one's a little too hard to understand, so I guess I can't understand the Bible. Pick a different one, man. Get some help looking in a different direction, and then as you start and as you grow and as you get into it, you can start moving deeper in things. Don't just give up because it's hard to read. I'll be honest, some Bible translations are super hard to read. Don't start with that one. Go into one that you can get something out of. You want to understand what God wrote, so it's a good idea, like I said, to go word for word or at least thought for thought. And then the most important thing is to dive in, read it, and build your life on what God shows you. That's the important thing. If you need help picking out a Bible, if you're like, I think I need a new one, I just don't know which one I should be going for, don't hesitate to ask parents, pastors, youth leaders. get some help. You don't necessarily have to get the same exact Bible as what the preacher or the teacher is using, although that can help. Some people struggle to follow along when, me or Pastor Dave are reading out of ESV and you've got New Living Translation and you're like, I think we're on the same verse, but I don't know. So it helps, but it's not required. You just need to make sure that you can read and understand it so that you can live by it. The whole point of the Bible is not for you to just read something for fun. It's so you can take it and build your life on it. Last two verses and we'll be done. Let's put them up there, please. Jesus said in Matthew 7:24 and 25, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock, and the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. Jesus saying, if you build your life on this, your life will survive everything that the world and sin and the devil throws at it. Now, in order to build your life on it, you probably need to make sure you're in it, you're reading it, and you can understand it. So get into a Bible that you can understand. 1 Timothy 2:15 says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved. Well, it's a person that God approves of. This person, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. That means that you, as a Christian, have the responsibility to get into God's word, to read it, to study it, to understand it, and to live by it. You can't rightly handle something that you are entirely unfamiliar with. So get into God's word. So the answer for what's the best Bible translation? The one you're going to use. Ultimately move towards a deeper category of understanding, but get one that you can read and understand, and then read it and understand it and live by it. That's the answer to the question. Alyssa. Yeah, if that's available to you, I would say that, having a commentary or having a Bible that has commentaries and notes in it, great for when you actually want to get in and dig and study a little more. Having a Bible that maybe is just plain easy reading to follow along with, that's good. Here's what I would suggest you do not do. Okay, you ready? My suggestion that you don't read your Bible on your phone. You should have a Bible app on your phone for when you're without your Bible for some reason. But when you actually want to sit down and give God your time, your phone is the dumbest device you can use because you're sitting there looking through it, and then you get a notification. Oh, a friend texted me. Oh, a new TikTok video came up. Oh, that YouTuber posted a new video. And you just, before you know it, within 3 minutes, you're not even in the Bible app anymore. Stay off your phone. Get some good old-fashioned paper and binding. Keep it in a different room. Get away from your phone would be a good idea. Get in God's word. Last thing, and then we'll close. What? If it's a struggle to understand, then I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah. Last thing, Alyssa. Yeah. Have a Bible that's in plenty of places. All right, I'm going to pray, and then we'll close, and we can go beyond there. All right, I'm going to pray. God, thank you for the opportunity and the privilege that we have to dive in and study really about your word tonight. We thank you that through all of these thousands of years, you have preserved this and brought it to us today. And we have a wealth of options for diving in and studying it and finding out what you want us to live by. So God, I pray that none of us would lean back on the excuse that we don't know what to pick or that we don't understand it. God, help us to just put a tiny bit of work in, to just talk to somebody, get some advice and some help, and just get in your word. Help us to read it, understand it, and live by it, because it is the most important thing in this life that we could ever build our lives on. Help us to do that, Lord. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, we're done. No?
Are you kidding me?